So in today's video, we're going to be making a little modification to the Radiomaster T8L to improve it. It has one little annoyance, as do a lot of these handheld radios, but we're going to fix it today, as you can probably see in the thumbnail. So if you haven't seen this radio, I'll leave a link above to my review of it. Great little radio. It's only 100 milliwatts, but it's perfect for flying around the parks, using it as a simulator. I like using it with my tiny whoops, things like that. And I prefer it to my Radiomaster Pocket, and it's just a great little small radio to have with you. But today I want to fix one of the annoyances, and that is the arm button. It's a really frustrating thing on these radios where they just have these buttons and you don't know whether they're pressed or not. And for anyone who flies tiny whoops, you'll know, you're forever crashing and you've got to disarm, turtle mode, turn off turtle mode, flick on your arm switch again. And it's just a bit of a pain because you never know what position your switches are in. So previously, I've done this little modification to my Radiomaster Pocket. I've made some little modifications to this. I've got the AGO 1 Nano gimbals, which are fantastic. But as you can see on top, just in these positions here, these were just momentary switches, a little bit like this one below for arming. And again, I hated those. Very hard to press or know if they're on or not. But these switches are absolutely fantastic. They're 2-position switches, and they're from the Radiomaster Zorro, and you can get them in 2 or 3. I could probably even change these here, but for me, this is fantastic. Arming, turtle mode, great for tiny whoops. So I want to do the same sort of thing with the Radiomaster T8L. So if we bring this one in, do this at your own risk. It is quite an easy modification. You're going to need a couple of tools. You're going to need a screwdriver, a little screwdriver, a hex driver, maybe a little tool to get some parts out, and a 3D printer as well, or someone to print you a part. If you want to do this without the part, I will show you it is possible, but it's just going to be a little bit tidier. I have already had a little play around with this to know it does work. That's why I'm showing you and making it straightforward. So first of all, we'll just take these sticks off, and then if we turn the controller over, you'll see on the back we've just got our rubber covers. They just pull off nice and easily. Set those to one side. We'll need those later. Next, we've got our batteries. Definitely take those out. So we'll just pull those both out and again set them to one side. Now to take the radio apart, it's just going to be 4 screws, and those screws are here, here, and the same on the opposite side. And you're going to need a 2mm hex driver for those. So we'll quickly just take these apart. Now if you're going to be doing this yourself and you want the 3D print, I'm no genius on 3D printers. I've had to learn Tinkercad this morning. You know, I've managed to make a print. I'll make it available and I'll link it below. If you make a better one, by all means, use that and even share it with me. And I might even use yours. But for now, this is what we're working with. Okay, so the radio is now loose. Don't pull at the radio because they are connected. So if I pull it apart gently, try not to lose all the screws. Set those to one side. Okay, so at the bottom of the radio, nearly lost that screw. At the bottom of the radio, we're just connected by these couple of cables there. Just pull those out gently. You don't want to be breaking anything. There we go. And we'll set those screws to one side. So this is a section I'm going to be working on, but quickly, just in case you've not seen one of these radios, I'll show you this as well. So as you can see, we do have some switches here as well, and these are momentary switches. So I would like to change these. Now, I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to have a look at it. The board's going to have to come out for that, as you can see. I'm going to have to take all the board out. But if I can make and design a kind of 3D print for there, and on this one, we may need to make a slightly bigger hole. But for now, we're going to leave that, and we're going to work on this section. This isn't a permanent modification, so if you want to do this yourself, you're not going to be damaging anything. We're just going to be splicing a couple of wires, and then if you decide to put it back, it's dead easy to do, so you've got no worries there. So what we'll do first, we're going to take off this button. There's a couple of ways to do it. There are 2 little retaining clips in here, what you just pop out. Another thing you can do when the radio's, even before it's apart, you can just get your little spudger in there or your little dental pick, and you can just pop that off. There we go. And that's the SE switch. And again, we'll come back to that. We'll just set that just there for now. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to be removing this board, and it's just 2 screws, and there is a little connector on there as well. So first of all, just take out your little connector, and if you find these wires a little bit tight, they're just hooked in. So all the way around, if you see, you can loosen that. They're just hooked in under these little little parts here just to give you a little bit more maneuverability. So loosen those off, and we're going to take these 2 screws out, and for that you're just going to want a Phillips screwdriver. It's a nightmare with an overhead camera trying to get everything in the shot. And that is 2, and that board's just come straight out. And basically this is the board. I'll just do that so it focuses. So it's just a simple little board. Now I've already had this apart to have a look, and it's just a little switch on there which is soldered on. Now on my Radiomaster Pocket I ended up cutting this off so I could do that, but you don't have to do it on this one. I noticed there's no fancy wiring, it's just a connector in here that powers it. So we'll take that board out and we're just going to save it, and if we ever want to put it back together we can do. Now the lead that was connected was just this little wire here, so we are going to have to chop that. For eagle-eyed viewers, you'll notice that I've actually already done this before to test, so I wanted to film it on camera to show you how to do it, but I've already covered those up for now. So if I slide those little heat shrinks out the way, you'll basically see what I've done there. This is the standard cable, and all I've done is snipped that cable, so you will have to do that. I recommend a couple of centimeters from the top, take your scissors, give it a snip. I'll unsolder it for now just as an example, and then we're just going to save this section because we're not going to use it. We're going to just put the wires together ourselves. Now the next thing we need are the switches. So you can get 2 position or 3 position, and I think 2 2-position switches is about $3 with Radiomaster. It's dead cheap, so you can order those. They don't take long to arrive, and this is how they arrive. They've got a connector on, but what you'll need to do is snip this connector off, and I've already done it. So I've just put a little bit of heat shrink around that for now just to cover it, but as you'll see there are just 2 wires. I've already tinned those wires, but again about maybe 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, something like that. The black wire at the back is the off position, and when it's up it's towards the middle pin, which is red. So when we're putting it in the radio, we want the off to be at the back, so we want the black to be to be at the back of the controller, this way, not this way around, this way. But if I just show you as an example, you can just slot that in there, and the switch kind of just sits in, and you get these little screws. It's a little bit fiddly to get these on, just get them started, but I'm not going to put it on too tight for now, but you'll see what I mean. So if you've not got access to a 3D printer to get this part, you can just screw it in and leave it like this. We've got a wire up, but as you can see, look, it just doesn't look very very nice. It's okay, but we can do better than that. So we'll take that off there, and let's put our little 3D printed part on. Now I'm no master on Tinkercad. As I say, I just had to mess around myself and print out loads of different pieces, try and put a bend in it, try and get the right size. I've measured it with a tape measure because I've not got anything better than that. So yeah, it was a little bit fiddly, but I think I've done an all right job. I'll show you what I've come up with. These were my test pieces, and no, it's not carbon, it's just I've got a carbon effect tray on my 3D printer, so you can probably see I've had more than this as well. These are what I've been working with, but even though it's not quite as tidy, this is the one I've come up with. And now we've got a slightly bigger hole on the top, so our little nut recesses in a little bit, and underneath, again, this is looking a little bit messy now on the print, just because I've angled it slightly, because there is a slight curve in the shape of the radio. So trust me, it just works, and this is what we've come up with. So we're going to get our switch, we're going to put that in first. Again, we want the black wire to the bottom in the off position. Make it a little bit closer there so you can see. I'm just going to hold that in place. Now this is a little bit fiddly, I'm not going to lie, but if you can get this little piece on and it kind of snaps in place, you can hear it, it's very tight. I think I've done a good job of that. And then this is just a fiddly bit, we just need to get this bolt back on. So I know it's very hard to show you on camera, but it's just getting it started is the tricky bit. But once you've got it started, it's not too bad. You just got to get it started, that nut, and then you're all right. Yes, we've got it going. I believe there is a little tool you can buy to tighten these, but we're just going to have to do it by hand because that's all I can work with at the moment. So all you do is you just keep turning that nut round to get tighter and tighter and tighter. I might even use this little tool just to get it tighter, tighten it a little bit. There we have it. And that's in place. And it actually looks quite smart. It looks I think I fit that quite well in there, but you can see that switch in there now is fantastic. So the next thing we need to do, let's get it wired up. So you've got two wires, red and black, and you've got this cable here with our little plug on the end. So as I say, you're going to cut that plug off. We're just going to unsolder this for now because, as I say, I did do a little bit of a test. So I'll get my little soldering iron. Let's just undo that for now. In fact, let me get some helping hands. These are great. Much easier with these. I'll pin those cables. Get my soldering iron. And we're just going to unsolder that. There's one. And there's the other. So if you were doing this for the first time, basically that's what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with a spare clip. Get your other board, plug it into there, get your little switchboard, and just save that for a rainy day. And then if you ever want to put the radio back together, you've got that. We don't need it. And now we're left with two wires. I don't really think it makes a difference which way you wire these. But what we're going to do, let's just have a little guess, eh? I don't think it matters. I'm sure I've done this before. Now, obviously, if you're doing this yourself, take the opportunity, if you do this, to get a little bit of heat shrink over your wires in advance. Get it on, slide it down, because when you put these together, you don't want bare connection. So I've already got two pieces of wire on here. And by the way, if you're into soldering, this isn't obviously an advert, but this Omnifixo, they're quite expensive, but it's fantastic. I do think make some knockoffs on AliExpress, but this is brilliant. And I got this for Christmas. So my girlfriend got me this. I asked for it and I was like, yes. So everything's a lot easier with that. We'll get a little bit of solder on here. There we go. Could do with a fume extractor really. All we're going to do is touch these together and solder those wires together. And let me get the other one. Might be best without this actually now. So we'll get the other one. Again, very hard to see on camera, I do apologise, but we're just going to wire the other one together as well. Hold it still. So all I've done, we've just basically spliced those cables together. Now I'm just going to let those joints cool down a second. And then what we're going to do, we're going to test it. Now, you don't want these touching together, so if you're unsure, slide your little cover over. But what we're going to do, let's put the radio together and just check that that is working. So we've just got our little connector on that side, our little connector on this side. I'm going to slide my heat shrink over for now just to protect it. And obviously we'll melt that once we know it's working. So that's the radio roughly back together, and we're going to need our batteries back in, positive to the top. Okay, now let me get a drone. Right, so I've just grabbed my Pavo for now, so let's just put that there so you can see it. I know we're getting a bit of a mess on here. Let's make sure none of those connections are touching. And I'll try and put the radio back together a little bit just so make my life easier. Don't do this inside, you know, be careful. And now if we hold down the throttle so it's down, and let's try the switch. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. So that's working. Right, so now that's together, let's just unplug this again. And then we can finish our nice tidy work. So all I'm going to do now is just get a little lighter and make sure we give that a good seal, because we don't want any shorts. Get a lighter, just give that a little bit of a heat. Doesn't need much. And there we have it. Now the last thing you want to do is just get your wires nice and tidy. So these red and black ones on here, they tuck under this section here. Now you could have given these a bit of a twist before, but I didn't twist them, but it's fine. And they just tuck under this little black thing here, this little plastic thing. There we go, and that should be all right. And then the last but not least tucks under there. And everything should be nice and tidy as we found it. To get it back together, as I showed you before, this just needs to plug into here. Make sure you plug them in the right way. That's the way they go. Red to the inside. That's plugged in. Same on the other side. Just plug those in. Again, make sure they're in the right way. That's fine. And then if we turn the radio around, gently put it back together. You've got 4 screws to go in the back. We do need to take those out actually. Let's just take the batteries out so we can put the screws in. Get our hex driver, so I'd already left 1 screw in there. We'll go opposite sides. stick our batteries in. Again, positive to the top. Be careful, make sure you don't put them in the wrong way. Same on that side. And then we've just got our back covers. To put these on, very easy. Go for the outside first. They kind of just fall into place on the outside nice and easily. And then pop it in all the way around. Same on the other side. So do the outside first, it's always easier. Make sure that's in, and then it kind of just folds into place. There we go. So as you can see, I always leave my sticks in here, I don't use these. And there we have it. So let's clear a bit of space. As you see, it's all working, all nice. We've got a nice feel on the sticks. I'll just put my sticks in so you can see how it feels and how we can reach those buttons. But you'll find the buttons are in a perfect position, literally. There we go, and there we have it. So we've got the controller. I think a lot of people have this as their arm button, but this is my arm button back here. It's just really easy just to knock that switch. And again, if you really wanted to, you could probably do it on this one, which I may do in the future. I may look to do it on this one and this one, but we'll have a look, and if I can work out a 3D print, I might even do it for these. I don't mind these switches, they're not bad, but certainly this one I use for turtle mode at the moment. And again, is it on? So two beeps is on, I think. One beep's off. No idea, you can't see. But I know with this one, my arm switch, it's off, it's on. And it looks good as well. So you can see, it looks smart. Got a little carbon effect on there. It's looking good. You can get other switches. You can get slightly longer switches. So if you want something a little bit longer, you can get that. But for me, that is perfect. I can just hit that whenever I want. No problem when I'm flying. Quick disarm, quick arm. And I think I'll have a look to see if I can get one on the other side as well, because that'll be handy for turtle mode. But there we have it. Nice and simple one. If you like that, drop a comment below, drop a like, let me know what you think. Also, if you've modded any radios as well, let me know what you've done to your radios. I've obviously done it to here, I've done it on my pocket. You know, there's any mods you want to see, let me know, we can have a little play with those. But yeah, that looks fantastic. And don't forget, look after those spare parts, and you've got those if you ever want to put it back to normal, so it's non-destructive. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.